everybody, welcome to week 8 of the college football season. My name is Mike Browning. I'm the host of the college football road trip at cfbroadtrip.com. What an amazing week of games we had in week 7, culminating with the Tennessee upset of Alabama. Some amazing games. Unfortunately, all the lower ranked teams won when I picked the upper ranked teams to win, which led to me having a 4-6 record last week, which is easily my worst week of the season. Let's hope we can bounce back this week. Also this week, we are back on the road. We are heading to Virginia tomorrow. We will be watching the BYU at Liberty game in Lynchburg this weekend. Obviously, I'll be picking that game at the end of this week's picks. In the meantime, we have another 5 ranked versus ranked matchups this week, so that's really exciting. The other games aren't overly exciting, but what that means is I get to pick some of the really strong games from some of the non-Power 5 conferences, which I haven't been able to do much so far this season, so I'm kind of excited to be able to pick some of those for you this week. So let's go ahead and jump into this week's picks. We're going to start off with a Thursday night game out of the Fun Belt, Sun Belt, with Troy travels to South Alabama. Troy only has 1 conference loss of the season. South Alabama so far has no conference loss this season. South Alabama's only loss this season is a 1-point loss to UCLA. So they've been pretty strong. I actually get to see South Alabama later this season, so I'm a little excited about that as well. In the meantime, obviously, South Alabama has a very strong team. Troy is going to be competitive for the first half, but South Alabama will find a way to pull away in the second, especially playing at home. So I have South Alabama winning at home over Troy and Sun Belt play on Thursday night. For our next matchup, let's go to a MAC matchup. We have Toledo traveling to Buffalo. Both of these teams are 3-0 in MAC play, and this could easily be a preview of the MAC championship game later in the season since these teams are in opposite divisions. Toledo has looked really good. Buffalo has had a couple really close matchups, but have pulled away at the end. So I think this is going to be a really strong game. Usually I go with the home team in this one, but based on the record so far this season, who they've played and how they've competed in these matchups, I'm going to give Toledo the slight edge in this one on the road. I have Toledo winning on the road at Buffalo in MAC play. Our next matchup is a Conference USA matchup. We have North Texas traveling to UTSA, a Texas matchup. Both of these teams, again, are also 3-0 in Conference USA. This could be another preview of the Conference USA championship game, but since there's only one division, they all play as part of one conference. They don't have separate divisions here. There's a lot of season left and a lot of 2-1 teams, so this could easily go any way by the end of the season. But again, both these teams undefeated at the moment. UTSA has just had the stronger games, the stronger matchups. They've looked better so far along the way, so I think that gives them the edge on this one, especially being the home team. So I have UTSA winning at home over North Texas in Conference USA. Next, let's go to an SEC matchup. We have number 7, Ole Miss, traveling to LSU. Ole Miss obviously undefeated on the season. LSU has started to look a little bit better as the season has gone along, but Ole Miss has just obviously won every single game, and I think that's going to give them the edge in this one. LSU is starting to put things together. They don't have it all together yet. I think they will be ranked by the time next season comes around, but they'll still struggle a little ways along the way as this season goes along. So I'm going to give Ole Miss the edge in this one. Ole Miss will go on the road and beat LSU in SEC play. Another SEC matchup in our first ranked versus ranked matchup this week. We have number 24, Mississippi State, traveling to number 6, Alabama. Obviously, the discussion around this one is how is Alabama going to bounce back after that loss to Tennessee last week? They struggled along the way. Mississippi State, obviously, after their loss to Kentucky, has struggled a little bit along the way. The question is, who is going to bounce back the most this week? Alabama, Nick Saban's going to coach them up. They're the home team in this one. They want to still be competitive in the SEC West and play for the conference championship at the end of the season, so they have to win this matchup, and I think they will. Number 6, Alabama wins at home over number 24, Mississippi State in SEC play. Next, let's go to our first of 2 Big 12 matchups we have this week. We have number 20, Texas, traveling to number 11, Oklahoma State. Texas is obviously moving back up in the rankings, although they really struggled against Iowa State and had to come back in the end to win that one. Oklahoma State is obviously coming off their first loss of the season in overtime to TCU. The question is the same here. How is Oklahoma State going to bounce back? Or will Texas continue to rise to the level of competition, be able to play hard this week? I think Mike Gundy's going to have Oklahoma State ready to play. Again, they're the home team in this one, so I'm going to give them the edge. I have number 11, Oklahoma State, winning at home over number 20, Texas. Next, let's go to an ACC ranked versus ranked matchup. We have number 14, Syracuse, traveling to number 5, Clemson. Both of these teams are undefeated so far this year, so obviously one of these teams is going to get their first loss. Syracuse is still the big surprise of the entire season across college football, I believe, being undefeated to this point. I still think they're probably a little underrated at number 14, being the undefeated so far. Clemson struggled the first half of the year, but I think over the past 2 to 3 weeks, they've started to play a little bit better. They've been able to put the teams away in the end and look better doing it. The quarterback play is getting a little better along the season. I think that's going to give them the edge in this one, especially playing at home. Syracuse always plays Clemson tough. They've been able to pull off an upset once or twice. I just don't think it's going to happen this year. Number 5, Clemson wins at home over number 14, Syracuse. Let's head back to the Big 12 now. We have a great matchup when we have number 17, Kansas State, traveling to number 8, TCU. Both of these teams are undefeated in Big 12 play. Obviously, Kansas State has that huge upset loss at Tulane earlier in the season, although Tulane is a very good team that's ranked 25 this week, so you can't totally undersell the upset loss. That's still a big loss for Kansas State. That's keeping them from being closer to the top 10. TCU, huge win last week at home over Oklahoma State in overtime. They had to come back. They did it. They pulled it off. Again, they are at home this week. In all these matchups, I've been giving the edge to the home team. I think that's going to happen again this week. Kansas State has struggled a little bit along the way. I think a little bit more than TCU, and so I have TCU with the edge of this one at home. Number 8, TCU wins at home over number 17, Kansas State. And our biggest ranked versus ranked matchup this week actually comes out of the Pac-12 when we have number 9, UCLA, traveling to number 10, Oregon. Obviously, UCLA is undefeated, probably the second biggest surprise right behind Syracuse as far as them being undefeated so far this season. They've come very close to losing a few times. I mentioned earlier, they have a 1-point win over South Alabama earlier in the season. They've been able to put things away and come back and win when they've needed to along the way. On the flip side, you have Oregon, who obviously looked horrible in their Week 1 loss to Georgia, but since then has put things together, have looked a lot better along the way. I think they're going to be very competitive the rest of the way against the Pac-12 teams they play. Again, they're the home team in this one. I'm giving the edge to the home team. Number 10, Oregon, wins at home over 9th-ranked UCLA. So finally, let's go to the game that I'm going to be at this week. I think this is actually a really intriguing matchup. We have BYU traveling to Liberty. Both of these teams are not ranked so far this year. BYU has struggled against the higher ranked teams or teams that have been better than them. They're coming off the loss to Arkansas last week, which has kept them unranked. On the flip side, you have Liberty, who has only 1 loss on the season, but they play to the level of competition. They have a 1-point loss to ranked Wake Forest, but then last week, they have a 1-point win that they've had to come from behind for against FCS team Gardner-Webb, who I believe only has 2 wins on this season. So what is Liberty going to do? Are they going to rise to the level of competition again and pull off the upset, or is BYU going to be too strong for them? I think BYU has the edge. Liberty, so far so good, but their one really tough loss, one tough game was a loss, albeit a 1-point loss to Wake Forest. I think BYU will do the same thing and pull off a win this week. BYU winning on the road at Liberty in Lynchburg, a game I will be at this week. Again, I'm excited to be on the road to Virginia. I think the weather is going to be beautiful over the next 2 Saturdays that I will be there. Liberty game this week, Miami at Virginia next week. So be on the lookout for all the things I do in Virginia. I'm excited to be there. Go enjoy the Week 8 games, everyone. And we will talk to you again from Virginia next week.